definition of a restraining order is an order issued by a court to keep someone from doing something that may harm a certain someone else. A temporary restraining order is just that, temporary until it's not. In Idaho, that temporary part lasts 14 days. Well, the West Bonner County School District doesn't seem to recognize, or at least didn't until about a half hour ago, or restrain itself from ignoring such court orders, because they've since scheduled a meeting and have now signed a contract for its superintendent, all while under said order. All right, here's a quick refresher. We've talked about this for, well, quite some time now. The West Bonner County School Board, they appointed former Idaho Freedom Foundation staffer Brandon Durst as its new superintendent back in June with a six-figure contract. Spartan Summer Fun culminated in a recall election a week ago where two of the board members who voted for Durst were ousted by an overwhelming majority. 2 days later, the board announced there would be a special meeting scheduled for last Friday, September 1st, 5 p.m., right before a three-day weekend. But just before it happened, a judge issued a temporary restraining order after an attorney pointed out there was a potential for immediate and irreparable harm since it would solely benefit the superintendent and recalled trustees. Well, plus this meeting wasn't necessary and dismantling the board was a violation of Idaho code. So the meeting was canceled. Yesterday, though, at the end of the first day of school, the same board said it would hold another special meeting tonight. And so the question is, wouldn't getting together for a meeting to discuss and decide things, wouldn't that be a violation of the temporary restraining order? Yes, it would, says the attorney who filed for it. Katherine Elsaesser told us any actions related to a contract or revisions of those documents would be a direct violation, which is what they planned to do based on an agenda item, or two of them specifically, approving the contract of Durst, which would be an action that would financially commit or contractually obligate the district, which is an obvious violation of the temporary restraining order, the very first item of the temporary restraining order. And of course, she told us this is just her legal opinion. A judge would make that ultimate decision. But today we learned Superintendent Durst's amended contract was signed yesterday by the recalled but still chair until the election can be certified tomorrow, Keith Rutledge and Durst. So is that a violation of the temporary restraining order? Again, yes, says Elsaesser. There was no open meeting. There's no motion to accept it, no second of that motion, no vote by trustees on that contract. So the question is, why did it happen? Because it ended up a bit different than it was even 5 days ago. Why did they need all that stuff? The contract removed the clause which would have allowed the board to fire him should he not get the certification, provisional or otherwise, from the State Board of Education. But it also apparently removed the part which would have given him a golden parachute, the part that said if the board decides to terminate the contract, it should pay him the remainder of his contract within 30 days. So we reached out to the school board and to Brandon Durst, but neither have responded at this point. So here's what happened. As of about 30 minutes ago, the school board decided to cancel tonight's meeting. So that pretty much answers our questions. One of them was going to be, aren't Republicans supposed to be the party of law and order? So violating the temporary restraining order, that would kind of go against that. It wasn't that long ago Brandon Durst ran for state superintendent as a Republican and was a leader of the party leaders, one of the party leaders, I should say, who last summer wrote the rules to determine who is allowed to register as a Republican. This contract, too, this meeting, I guess the question now is, what are we doing up in West Bonner County if we're scheduling meetings that ultimately have to be canceled because of a court order, which of course seems to be like costing the money or costing that district, which is already cash-strapped, a serious shortage of change right now. So I guess, like I said, that meeting is canceled, will not happen, but we do know this contract, which was set to be approved tonight apparently, was already signed. So we'll see what happens with that.